Friends, there has been an incident in New York, a tragedy that was totally preventable. We need to discuss it today. We got a U.S. Navy warship has successfully shot down one of the most advanced fighter aircrafts out there, one of ours. But both crewmen are safe. We got to talk about how Congress managed to lose one of the congresswomen. I know, they need all the women there for diversity and such, but they lost one. Sort of like how the Pentagon loses its money. No idea where it went. Well, they finally found her. You won't believe where she turned up. We have reports from our Watchman community of milk being shorted in the bottles. We got eggs, issues going on out there, and they're getting a lot more real. We got milk, other milk issues. And we got really helpful suggestions and tips. That and more from the Watchman community. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are your updates that you guys are sending in. Please do keep them coming in. Just use the word update on any video on this channel in your comment. That gets it to the right place. We're always talking about being prepared. And if you're prepared, it can turn any crisis into just a minor annoyance. It's the truth. Before we dive in, we do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They help people who have retirement accounts get out of stocks and bonds, get over into something more stable, like silver, metals like platinum or gold. It's right at the end of the year, but there's still time to talk to Jonathan and his team. If you want to get an end of the year call in, if you got some questions about whether you're going to try to do something really, really fast right now, or whether you want to look at what you can do coming up into this new year. There'll be a link at the end of the video. If you do reach out to them directly, do make sure you mention this channel because they do waive your setup fee if you mention this channel. All right. Wild Wabbit, yes, with W's, says, update, CENTCOM, or U.S. Central Command, conducted a precision airstrikes against Iranian-backed Houthi missile storage and command and control facilities in Yemen. Then they proceeded to shoot down one of our F-18s. Both pilots ejected safely, but it was a loss of a lot of money, not to mention the danger that the pilots were put in due to this. Apparently, they mistook the aircraft for a drone coming in or something, and they launched an interceptor. The USS Gettysburg engaged the F-18, and apparently it was too late to do anything about it. And the pilots had to eject before they were taken out. All right, now sometimes you may wonder why we have such a hard time in Washington, D.C. blocking what the woke agenda and the leftists are trying to do in the deep state. Well, this next story might explain just a little bit. Missing Republican Congresswoman was found living in assisted living facility for dementia patients. I can understand her forgetting that she was in Congress, but you gotta hope her staff wouldn't forget that she was in Congress. Yeah, she's been missing from Congress for at least 5 months. People are saying that that her whereabouts have been unknown for 6 months. She voted last on July 24th, so I don't know if she just slipped in, voted, and nobody kind of saw her do that or what. But as part of its investigation, the Express found that grand jurors' D.C. office phones went directly to voicemail, found no sign of her at a local Texas office, and ultimately discovered that she is a resident at an assisted living facility. They then reached out for, they received a tip from a grand juror constituent who shared that the Congresswoman has been residing at a local memory care and assisted living home for some time, after having been found wandering lost and confused in her former cultural district, West 7th neighborhood. Once again, this is Texas, and a Republican. So basically kind of like the equivalent of Joe, but on the Republican side and not in the presidency, but, you know, in Congress. This is just insane. Like, it just goes to show that we're not up against a party. We're up against the deep state. We're up against this entrenched entitlement. This idea that, yeah, this person can't do their job, but we don't want to lose power as the staffers, as the party in control. So we're not going to give up that power. And who do these people think they are? Who do these staffers think that they are? Both in the White House and in Congress. That they can just not do their jobs. They can take over an elected position to run as their little personal fiefdoms. These little unelected bureaucrats running government institutions that by the Constitution are to be run by someone elected by the people. All right. If this next one you might want to skip over if you have a sensitive stomach or if you don't want to hear this. It'll be about 30 seconds. After deploying 1,000 armed National Guards to the subways to protect in New York City, there was an incident. A woman was set on fire. There is video out there on X and such, out there on the internet. I, of course, will not show that here. She was set on fire, and many people walked past her, observed her on fire, and did nothing to intervene. The man who set her on fire simply watched. Even a policeman walked past and did nothing. It was only when the fire department showed up and extinguished what was left of her that it became clear what had happened. Some people have been asking the question of what the attempted prosecution of Daniel Penny will have. Well, this is the effect. People stepping over people in need of emergency help. This is what happens when you break down the trust. This is when you go after the sheepdogs. This is what happens. Everyone learns to step back and just be glad it didn't happen to them. Moving over to Germany, the Conservative Party, AfD, or Alternative for Deutschland, or Germany, has surged to be now leading in the polls after an Elon Musk tweet. Some people out there saying about how it's an attack on democracy and stuff like that, that Elon Musk tweeted 6 words. 6 words. A 6-word tweet damaging democracy by an independent citizen of another country. That's a pretty shaky democracy if that's all it takes. Well, Alice Weidel is now being ranked at 24% in the polls for chancellor, leading all other potentials, including Scholz, who is currently the chancellor, and he's in 3rd place. So AfD is leading in the polls. Of course, with the coalition governments and everything like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will gain power or be in the coalition government. Moving on to reports here, K-Down says no eggs soon in Florida Panhandle. How do we know that? My friend went out for breakfast there at different restaurants and fast food spots around the capital. No eggs at mostly all breakfast restaurants, and the fast food or long wait to get eggs. This is so true and scary. Get prepared, people. Some stores have eggs still. Get them before they're all gone. Get shelf-stable ones if possible, or get them and make them shelf-stable. Multiple different ways you can do that. The least sophisticated way is to, you can take like an ice cube tray. I really like the muffin trays. You can get these silicone muffin trays, and that's what I do. And then they don't have it. They're like no stick, and you pop you crack the eggs, drop the eggs into each of the muffin spots, and then you stick that into the freezer. And once it's frozen, you can pop it out and stick it into a Ziploc bag and do another egg on that same silicone thing. Just make sure you do wash them, and remember that if you freeze raw eggs, they're still raw, right? I mean, that's obvious. We all get that, but we all make mistakes, right? So freezing the eggs, you can also dehydrate the eggs. You can use freeze dryer for that. You can water glass store-bought eggs, but you have to coat them with oil. You have to use mineral oil. There's a whole process. Google it or search for it on YouTube. There are people showing you how to do that. Normally, you water glass eggs that are that don't have the bloom stripped off them, but check those things out there. You can also buy shelf eggs. You can buy egg alternatives. Greg says, my wife is a food service director at a memory care facility in Tucson, Arizona. Hopefully not the one where the where the congresswoman showed up. Anyway, I don't think so. I believe that was in Texas. So last week she went to order eggs from Cisco. Cisco is one of the main service providers. They provide institutions, facilities, schools, and a lot of restaurants as well. So Cisco says, but found no eggs were available. This is from Cali Girl. I live in Northern California. Costco and Bel Air saying that they cannot get delivery for eggs. It's been 2 days. I live between the city and the countryside, so I went to a small mom and pop grocery store in the countryside, and they still had eggs. What we're seeing is the supply chains for eggs are getting scrambled. Some are still in place. If a small mom and pop store has a direct deal with a local producer of eggs, that may still be good. The store may be buying them wholesale, and that could be more of a problem for the larger stores. Buying local gets you more resilient to the issues out there. Karen says, south of Atlanta, Georgia, I have recently noticed that in the two main grocery chains, the creams, butters, milks, and other things are seriously low. Little to no options now, and to get organic is even more limited and difficult to find. This is from Mary. Now, we were talking about this before. Someone just giving their testimonial. Mary says, I've been testing out Bob's Red Mill egg replacer. We mentioned that on this channel. That's got high reviews, and it's a cheaper way than getting eggs. Now, it doesn't work for anything other than in baked goods, right? But instead of putting eggs in there are other alternatives that you can use in baked stuff like applesauce, and people will talk about different things. But Bob's Red Mill egg replacer is like a powdered thing that you just buy, right? I've been testing it out in my holiday baking this year and gotten really good results. Nobody has noticed anything different in my cookies or breads. The bag cost me $5.69 and contains the equivalent of 34 eggs. Now, here's something that you guys, a number of you guys have mentioned, and it's as Mary says, no weird chemicals either. The ingredients are all easily recognizable. It's worth considering as a money saver for those who do a lot of baking. I know I'll be getting stocked up on this for my preps. Stay safe and have a blessed holiday season, everyone. I think it's mostly like potato starch is like the main ingredient. So it is, I mean, it's not a whole bunch of chemicals or anything like that. It's natural ingredients that they just blend together to get the right consistency. So, and it's powdered. So it is shelf stable. So great for prepping. You can dump it into canning jars and vacuum seal it, and it'll last pretty long. A lot longer than eggs on the shelf. How about that? E says, thank you and Merry Christmas, Steve and the Watchmen. Weiss Markets in central Pennsylvania. Dozens of Weiss brand large eggs for $5.19 for some reason. But for some reason, Wise Organic and Eggland's Best Eggs are a little bit cheaper at $4.99. So, generic, large eggs, $5.19, and organic and Eggland's Best, cheaper. I actually ran into that. I have Eggland's Best in my fridge right now because I checked the prices, and it's like, I don't know why, but Eggland's Best is cheaper right now. So, I bought it because it was cheaper and because they look fancy. Anyway, my point is that right now, as we are having market disruptions, this is going to cause inefficiencies in the market. Eggland's Best may not be raising their prices as fast as other brands are. And so brands that are considered higher quality or usually more expensive may suddenly become cheaper options. So when you're looking at things that have risen a lot in price, look around you. Just because the brand you're about to pick up used to be the cheapest doesn't mean it still is. And sometimes you're going to see, especially when the markets are moving really fast, you're going to see generic brands sometimes being more expensive than the name brands. So hopefully that saves you some money. If you see a big shocking price tag, check around it. You may find another product that may be even higher quality that is cheaper. This is Frank from Brandon, Florida. Let's go. My wife and I are getting up in years and rely on Instacart for grocery delivery, and therefore do not get to inspect the goods before purchase. Recently, gallons of milk have arrived about 8 ounces short. This has happened from both Publix and Sam's Club. Every time I see this, I check to see if the factory seal are still intact, and they are. Apparently, this is occurring when the milk is being bottled. Any thoughts? I'm going to kick that one out to you guys. Are you guys seeing this? Are you seeing bottles of milk being shorted? Again, that is from Florida. Helga says, just a recommendation to make sure. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put a pinned comment down below to the Red Mills egg replacers in case you guys are looking for it. Or they are cheaper on Walmart, generally speaking, but Walmart's been having availability issues. So there may be a tag right there on the screen. If I can find it on Walmart, I can send a tag directly to Walmart. If that's usually the cheapest place to get it. If Amazon's cheaper or more available right now, I'll put it down in the pinned comment. Or both may happen. Helga says, just a recommendation, make sure you have interesting recipes on paper so you can turn your preps into delicious meals. And I'm going to go a little further on that. By doing those good recipes, having them prepared, you'll also be able to look at those recipes and say, I have all these things, but there's this one ingredient that I don't have stocked up on. And it can help you inform, hey, I need that for preps. I'm sure we all, those of us who are a little further into the preparedness game, I'm sure we all have something weird that we stock up on because we're like, you know what? In my preparedness food, I want this because that's what I like to eat. I stock up a lot of lentils, which is kind of weird. You know, beans are a lot cheaper, but I really like a good lentil curry. And so I also have a whole bunch of Indian spices, like giant jugs, like I'm running an Indian restaurant here and they're still sealed. So I will have Indian spices well into the apocalypse. If you're looking for a good meal during the apocalypse, just come on over and we'll cook you up something spicy and awesome. Anyway, Jeff says, just this week I tried my Vitamin 1800 powering my freezer, and it lasted 24 hours. I'm not familiar with that brand of power unit, but we're going to be looking at the advice here. Powered my freezer, and it lasted 24 hours, keeping it below zero, period. I also got to see what the usage from the freezer is as it cycled. Next task is to do the same thing with our refrigerator. Get one of those watt meters, or you can just watch some battery packs will track that for you already. You can test it, but doing that while the grid is up is a lot easier than trying to figure all that out when the grid is down. How long can it run your refrigerator? How long can it run your freezer? If that's what it's there for, have you tried it out? Test run, important to do. Hemigal says, I have a solar generator that I pulled out today and it was dead. I guess I was busy doing everything else and haven't checked it on it for longer than I had planned. I've been making checklists again and again, trying to be prepared for anything. Prepping for 3 people is hard. And they also asked about if I could do a little video on EMP protection. like a homemade Faraday cages for normal people. I'm going to try maybe doing something along those lines over on my preparedness channel. If you haven't checked that out, Poplar Prepper is the channel. I do post practical videos over there. Over here it's more news and updates. But let's get back to what they just said, which is that these battery packs, you got to check to see if they're charged. And I'm going to go a little further and say that I have a few of these battery packs wandering around that I've been testing and continuing to kind of keep track of to see which ones I can recommend and which ones I can't over the long haul. And I'll say this, these lithium iron phosphate battery packs, they keep their charge. Like even when they get cold and warm up and cold and warm up, they really do seem to hold their charge still pretty good. But here's the trick. A lot of them, you need to turn them off. If you don't turn them off, the fan will keep going and it will drain the battery. So before you put your battery pack on the shelf, please, please, please double check, triple check, quadruple check to make sure that it is fully off. Make sure you can't hear a fan. Go in there over the next 2 days or whatever and just listen to see if there's a fan going. If there is, make sure you turn it off. Otherwise, it will drain the battery completely. All right, friends, hopefully that stuff was useful and helpful. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. If you want to get some more information from Genesis Gold, there's a link right there. No obligation, but they do waive the setup fees, and that's great. Pinned comment is Red Mills egg replacer, so if you want to check that out. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.